All right, it's rolling.
It's
Here's everybody.
gonna
Yay.
be an exciting day. And you can watch it on YouTube.
Do you ever wonder, like, does anybody else find the link and say, hey, I want to watch these kids in discussion? I can tell you something. I can show you some past years discussions.
AE120P4. Alrighty.
Okay, go ahead. And don't be afraid to think broadly, like what could this mean, what the, for the broad issues, but you can also talk about the facts, like exactly what's going on.
Okay, so Henrietta died in like the last section that we read. So now this is just about like her, like what happens after. And then so like the first couple chapters talks about like her like funeral and stuff. So like her body was in like the section like her family was buried in. So like where she was buried, there's no stone or anything, so no one knows where she like her body actually is. But I thought was weird is that they kept her body in like the middle of a hallway of their like family house for like a little bit, so like their like family members could walk past and just see her there and then mourn.
No, it was like that was like a common like practice though. Like during that time, they would just like they like set the body out and then like that's where they like mourn. That's where they have the funeral. And they have them like out for like a while, like a week or like weeks. They just have like resting out there a bit.
And then it talks about what happened to like her family after it. So like her kids, she has 5 of them, and when she died, the youngest one, Joe, was just like a baby. And then so it's just her fault, like they're like David raising them. And this family, I think her name's Eliza and Galen. Those two move in like to their like David's house with like the kids. And Eliza says like she wants the best for the kids, but she only feeds them a scone in the morning until supper. Then they get fed again. They just get a little scone, cold scone. And then she abuses Joe. She like ties him up and like leaves him places for like hours. And then the her husband Galen starts to like sexually harass Deborah. So yeah. That's pretty much what happened.
You want me to explain what happened?
Yep.
Alright. Okay, so the beginning of the chapter, I don't know if you like remember that dark-haired girl that we talked about. She was like mysterious and he wanted to meet her. And they like run into each other, like they're about to pass each other walking and she trips and he like helps her up and she hands him a piece of paper and it says, I love you on it. And then he just keeps thinking like throughout how he like wants to meet her again. And they meet up and do some things. And yeah. Then that just keeps happening for a while. And then I think what's his name? Like O'Brien or whatever. I think that's his name. Yeah. They like go to his house and join the Brotherhood, which is like a revolution against the Big Brother or whatever, and yeah, that's like the main stuff that happened in this, or like this little section that we read.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but like when she drops a note and says I love you, like that's like both of them could like die for that just because you're thinking. And, like, that, but it's called the thought police. And then I thought what was interesting was the thought police. It says here, he thought the girl was an agent of the thought police, just as he had feared. He did not know why the thought police should choose to deliver their message in such a fashion, but perhaps they had reasons. The thing was written on the paper might be a threat, a summons, or an order to commit suicide. So I thought it was interesting how the thought police could like tell you to commit suicide and like you're supposed to do it. And he thought she was a part of that, but then he opens it up and finds out she's not.
I thought it was also interesting too, like throughout this part that when he's in Mr. Carrington's like store, he he rents there's like an upper house where he and Julia kind of hang out. He finds this picture of a church, and part of it says, "You owe me 3 farthings," says the bell of St. Martin's. "When will you pay me?" says the bells of Old Bailey. And I kind of think to myself that this may foreshadow the killing of Winston. Is he's trying to figure out what the significance of this saying is with the picture of the church.
Going off ours, okay, so we talked about the scientist, I think is it pronounced Guy or
I think it's gay.
is it gay? Okay, well,
Did it talk about it in the videos?
I think they pronounced it Guy.
Guy? Okay.
Okay, but
We'll go with
anyway,
that.
they talked about him a little bit, because he's the one that like first like did the research on her cells, and he said that, okay, he applied for extensions on grants, often took months to answer letters, and at one point continued to pay a dead employee salary for 3 months before anyone noticed. So he wasn't like in the loop with anything, he kind of just everywhere with stuff, because he didn't even know like how much, or like he sold it to people, but he thought those people were going to keep it, but they were selling it other places, and then he wanted to be the first one to have his like research out there, but he sold it too soon, so like he was kind of like mentally everywhere trying to figure stuff out. Another thing, when Deborah was getting like abused, her father didn't do anything about it, so like when Deborah would walk to school, Galen would like drive past and like tell her to get in the car. And then this time Galen jumped out of the car, cussing and screaming and telling her she was a whore. He grabbed Deborah by the arm, threw her in the car, and punched her in the face. Her father was sitting in like the passenger seat. He didn't say a word and just stared through the windshield while this entire thing was going on. So he didn't care for like his children at all.
And it kind of relates like back to like the beginning when I was talking about like Henrietta, like when she was younger, when her mom died, like they all got like separated, like all like the 10 children. Is that how many there were? That like they all, I don't know, I didn't really give like a lot of detail at the beginning about their personal home life, but it's kind of like that because like the 5 kids of Henrietta, like since she died, they all kind of like they all got it bad because I don't know, they like got like abused and like like raped and stuff like that. So
Another thing is, the use of like HeLa cells. They started injecting them into people to see what it would do, and she had cancer, so like they were seeing if it would prevent cancer or if it would like cause cancer. So they would inject it into normal people, like patients that just came in without telling them. They would say it was like a saline solution, and sometimes it would end up having them form like massive tumors. So like none of the patients knew that they were getting injected with cancerous cells. But so it was another like secrecy thing, or like invasion of privacy, that kind of situation again.
and it's interesting because just like throughout like this whole book, it's like mentioned like about how like the HeLa cells are being used for like they're used to create like a vaccine for polio and like all these like diseases that you didn't think were curable, and like a cancer cell. So that was pretty interesting.
With that like invasion of privacy in this book, how they all have the telescreens from their rooms. When Winston goes to has to go out into the country to meet Julia, and he has to go. Like it has the pictures and shows of like what in the movie they're doing, and like.
Go ahead, you can keep talking.
All right. And how they just have to meet in secrecy even when they go into the square. They have to go. They have a whole dialogue of when they like discuss going to the square, how they have to like wait for like a signal, and here it is. Or they discuss what time do you leave work, or 1830, and they talk in like military time, and they say like go to Victory Square near the monument, and Julia's is like scared of seeing or having the telescreens look down on them, but Winston reassures her that's fine because there's a crowd there, and then they just discuss so they can go meet again. So.
Thinking about the privacy, like, Winston, I can't remember what it was, we talked about how not even communication was safe. That's why they had to speak so quietly or in whispers, or maybe just handing notes with written words on them.
You know, like when they were in the field, like they had like secret little like things where so Julia took them to a place with like a burned tree where they know that there wasn't any microphones or anything. And then I thought it was interesting though too how Mr. O'Neill, or what's his name? O'Brien, like he could unplug the telescreen just like a lot. I was like, oh, like no one else knew about that. And then, like, you could only have it for, like, a certain amount of time, like a half hour or something, before they, like, got suspicious of you. But even if you turn it off, I'm sure they're suspicious. But, yeah. And then they got, like, that one room from that old man who sold him the book. And it's, like, secretive, like, it doesn't have a telescreen or something like that. So, isn't he, like, prole? The old man, so he has, like, this old place, right?
I think he is.
He is the old man. The old man's a prole, so he got like this one little space where they can do stuff and be alone. So
I think that's their like the party slogan, how ignorance is strength, because they didn't know that they could unplug the telescreen then.
so it's strong for them.
Okay. The same thing with like patient consent. It says that 16 years earlier, on August 20th, 1947, the Nuremberg Code was like, I don't know what it's called. What do you mean? It's like put into place. Okay.
Established then?
What?
Established?
Yeah, okay. The first line in that code says, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. What I thought was weird, in like the end of like the paragraph, it said, and though the American Medical Association had issued rules protecting laboratory animals, in 1910, no such rules existed for humans.
Oh no.
Oh,
So,
Jeez, that's really shocking, some of the stuff they have.
yeah, so when I read that, I was like, I get it, like, we should both have like, I guess you can't get consent for animals, but like, there was things put in place for animals, but not for humans. It's shocking. It's just weird. So.
So like a 114. Let's see. So I think this is, yeah. So Winston is kind of talking about like how everyone just wants like privacy. He said privacy, he said, was a very valuable thing. Everyone wanted a place where they could be alone occasionally. And when they had such a place, it was only common courtesy for anyone else who knew of it to keep his knowledge to himself. It's like if they knew of a place that was like private, where they knew there weren't any like telegrams or telescreens or anything like that, then they just keep it to themselves. It's really interesting. And like, but then at the same time, like Julia showed him this like secret place where they could be alone. And I think it's really interesting too how she has like that chastity belt that's like really redundant because she shouldn't be wearing it, but it's okay. It's like a lot of like deceit and like you don't really know who's like on your side or anything. So that's scary. Like I'm even kind of scared of like Julia and O'Brien said that they're like on Winston's side, but like what if they are like actually like I don't know. Like they could all be playing a big old game and it stresses me out.
Okay, another thing I thought was weird. I think it was Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence is one of the Henrietta's sons, and when she passed away, he was about 16. So he started. I don't know what he did, but he like I think he went to go get a lottery ticket, so he said he was 18, but then a war happened or something, so then he got drafted, even though he was 16. He like verbally said he was 18, and there was no documentation of his birth or anything, so he had to go to the military.
That sucks.
So when he came home, like when he was gone, that's when all the abusing was going on with Joe and Deborah and stuff. So when they came back, Lawrence found his wife, Babette, funny name, but sorry, Babette, and then they have a house, so then all the kids move in with them, but she's, like, Deborah still gets harassed by Galen every time she walks, but, like, all the abuse stops for Joe and all the other children. So it's, like, terrible thinking all of that happened, because, like, even on, like, Henrietta's deathbed, she told her sister to tell David to, like, protect her children. So it's kind of sad.
Alright, so who's Galen?
Galen is Eliza's husband. Eliza, like,
Is Henrietta's cousin, I'm pretty sure. Isn't that her cousin?
there
or
was
her
some,
friend? Here, look,
Deborah
look.
said something about, like, Eliza kind of had a crush on David and was trying to, like, get away from Galen and, like, get closer with David.
Okay, wait, Galen is Henrietta's cousin. Wait, yeah, right? Yeah. Pretty sure.
That sounds complicated.
So Galen
Oh, is it
the
Ethel? Not
abuser?
Eliza. Eliza's her Henrietta's mom.
Yeah, it says that Galen is Henrietta's cousin. He and his wife Ethel move in with Day after Henrietta's death to help take care of the children. He ended up abusing them.
So Galen's just an abusive guy.
Yeah.
But they're all like weird because they're like all like kind of like cousins,
Yeah.
but then they're all like married to each other.
That's
Except
Okay.
Babette and Lawrence. They're not related.
That's
Surprisingly. But, like, even Babette, like, talks to Deborah because her cousins end up, like, harassing Deborah. And, like,
Wait,
so
who's Deborah? Is Deborah like the main character?
Deborah's, like, Henrietta's daughter.
Oh, okay.
So,
and
Babette, like,
most-
talks to Henrietta and, like, tells her that, like, that's not good and, like, it can have, like, effects, like, to your child and stuff, and kind of scares Deborah. So, she, like, Deborah starts, like, fighting back when all her cousins, like, try, like, doing stuff with her. So, like, then they, like, leave her alone. So it's good.
Okay,
But-
to catch you up, Kylie, 'cause
Yeah.
I don't think you know it. Okay, so hold on. So this is about like Henrietta Lacks, and it's like the writer, like a Rebecca, her name is.
Mm-hmm.
The story is like it goes back from like Henrietta and like it like tells Henrietta's like story, but okay, so Henrietta's daughter Deborah like kind of helped write the story. Like she didn't like write it, but she like got interviewed by Rebecca. Like most of this book is like from her, like from what she was
From
told
her
and
accounts
stuff.
and everything?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and then like Rebecca like chimes in like kind of randomly and like talks about how she wrote the book. But it makes sense, but it's kind of random, but it makes sense.
I don't know if this is like back in like the earlier parts, because like I missed the first discussion, but
It's online if you do want to look
yeah,
at it.
talking about like the like marriage and everything, and like how these people like they were like assigned spouses in a way, and it's like, and like if you can't have kids, like they make you have kids, but like they have to be like spies and like little chastity kids, and so like they get, you know, so like, and I think it's weird too. I don't know, I didn't mark it, but it started talking about like how the kids are raised to be spies on their parents. It's like, oh, that's a little sketchy. Because, like, I know, like, Catherine is Winston's, like, wife, but he, like, doesn't really like her that much because, like, she, like, doesn't want him to, like, touch her. And, you know, she's like, oh, we need to do this for the party. You know, it's like, he's like, I just want, like, a kid or something, you know, but it's like, no, like, it's for the party. And they haven't been able to have any kids, so he wants to get divorced, but it's not going to be that easy for him to do it. He wants to be with Julia, but that's a whole other situation. It's messy. Yeah. I also like, I'm missing like 5 pages here.
Oh,
It goes
you
from
can
134 to 139.
Just exchange it with a different book that's down there. You can take another one. Yeah, if you find, it might, I don't know, might be just pictures. Is it the pictures that's just gone, or
I
are you
don't-
missing more pages?
Yeah, I'm missing.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
it's
pretty.
134 to 139, and I just kind of like skipped over it. I was like, I kind of know what's going on. So.
They're pretty old books. Yeah, you can just
Yeah.
switch it out. There's 2 more down there.
Yeah, I went from
You're
130.
just missing basically the pictures, though,
Am I? Okay.
I think.
until 1:39. So I'm like missing 5 pages.
So it's like,
Because all of a sudden was talking about like Winston's childhood, and then it like all of a sudden it jumped to like they're talking with O'Brien, and I got really confused.
Because he was like, he was remembering his like mom.
So like what happened?
His mom died.
So he felt like guilty. Didn't he feel guilty for it? Because he's like, oh, like I was a bratty kid. Like I took all my rations from my siblings and everything. Okay, well that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
These books are messed up.
Discuss that.
Like the things
both
that
very
Galen
depressing.
did, I can't even like read it. It makes me feel it.
What?
The things that Galen did to Deborah.
Oh.
Galen's her dad.
No.
Galen's
Her,
that
like,
random
uncle,
guy that's
cousin
in her house.
Ew.
Like he would tell her that like he told her Ethel needed like soda, and so she got soda and like came to his house. Oh, so nasty. I don't like it. It's just bad.
Bringing soda to someone's house is bad.
She showed up and he was naked laying there.
Okay.
And
That's different.
then
You
she
didn't say
grabbed
that.
the money and like sprinted and he chased her. So it wasn't
Ew,
good.
that's creepy.
Or like he would slide close to her in cars and she would like try to. It was just bad.
Poor
And
Deborah.
she was 9 when she got out of that situation.
Okay, on a side note, on like a better note.
It's just it was so horrible to read.
and the more you learn about Deborah, I think they give you that background. Well, it's true, but I mean, I think part of it is once you start to see Deborah as an adult, it gives you reasons for why she is like she is. She'll be an interesting character.
Opens the door.
Yeah, sure.
But there's a lot about, think about it, you know, within your 2 books, and you guys are doing a really good job about, well, that sounds like that transitioning from novel to novel, because that's kind of hard to do, or I should say novel to memoir. You know, you can think about the vulnerability of people, you know, in both of your stories, or how youth is used in both stories. You know, and the outcome of that.
Well, because like O'Brien was talking about like when he was like kind of indicting Julia and Winston, he's like, "Are you really? Oh, where is it? It's like on
To join the Brotherhood.
Yeah, on 142, it's like, "Are you prepared to give your lives? Yes. Are you prepared to commit murder, to commit acts of sabotage which may cause death to hundreds of innocent people, betray a country to foreign powers? Are you prepared to cheat, to forge, to blackmail, to corrupt the minds of children, to distribute habit-forming drugs, to encourage prostitution, to disseminate venereal diseases,
To disseminate, to spread.
to do anything which is likely to cause demoralization and weaken the power of the party?" And they say yes. If, for example, it would somehow serve our interest to throw sulfuric acid in a child's face, are you prepared to do that? Yes. Are prepared to lose your identity and live out the rest of your lives as a waiter or a dock worker? Yes. Are prepared to commit suicide if and when we order you to do so? Yes. And he also asked, he's like, "Are you prepared, the 2 of you, to separate and never see each other again?" And then Julia said no, but then Winston was like, "No, not really." He kind of waited a second. He's like, But like they did say here too, though, like that. You know, O'Brien kept saying, like, he's like, "I might not see you again." You know, he might see them, but they can alter their faces to, like, change their identity and, like, change their voice, their accent, alter their faces with cosmetology surgeons and everything to, like, change their identity so the party doesn't find them out. And he also said, too, which is interesting, he's like, I don't know where it was, he's like, "This isn't going to happen in, like tomorrow." He's like, "Not even 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. He's like, "Well, we're, like, dying for this cause." He's like, "We're not going to see it happen." And I'm like,
So it's the cause, the idea, and the idea of what you would sacrifice for it. So that's another link you can think of. Like when you're talking about some of the things that came out of, and you'll find out more about the HeLa cells and what they're used for. Like, okay, is it okay that they took these cells from this family without them getting anything in return? Because here we have a polio vaccine. You know, it's going to help million.
Wait, so what was in her blood that, or her,
She had like cervical cancer.
and so,
So they like took out like a biopsy of her tumor, and then the cell like they put the cells to like Dr. Gay, and then they like kept like reproducing.
to like
and
figure out how to,
I think like the video said it was something
No.
with an enzyme, like that's what it has,
They-
but like no one really knows specifically why it was just hers.
Her cells do what no one else's cells can do, her cancer cells.
Oh.
They
'Cause normal cells,
reproduce
like, die.
infinitely.
Yeah, because like they're still like alive
That's why
today.
they're immortal. They just keep
Yeah,
on
they're from, like,
reproducing.
Like 50, 60 years now.
wait, hers are, like they have hers at their
Yeah, they're like still like
going?
Yeah.
reproducing,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's why they've been the basis for so much research.
Yeah, and then it's like, but no one really like knew it. Like, 'cause
That she was the,
Yeah, the
the
family didn't know
latent.
till 20 years after she did. So.
And they they haven't benefited.
So
Their,
they
their
took-
position in life is horrendous.
It's like they took it when she